Hey, what's up? It's Josh Todd from Buckcherry, and you're watching CMS TV. Check it out.
From the nasty release, it's Black and Blue with I Want It All. I Want It Now.
Yeah. That was what Ron Jeremy said when he was at the House of Blues.
Exactly.
I want it all, and I want it now, goddammit.
Exactly. Well, since we were talking earlier about, time passing and when did this happen and when did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, it was a very weird circumstance that I met Jamie St. James of Black and Blue.
Mm-hmm.
For a weird, unknown reason, even to him, he moved to Cleveland, of all places, or just outside of Cleveland. And I was with our good friend, long-haired Mike, rest in peace.
Right.
At the Agora, the Cleveland Agora. And we were there during the World Series of Metal. And your friend Mitch Krzyzewski used to put on this yearly thing, the World Series of Metal, which usually lasted like 3 days.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we were there, long-haired Mike and I were there on a Sunday night, and Dawkins was headlining the show. They were on their Race to Slate tour.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In 1999.
Right.
And so long-haired Mike says to me, there was like a break in the music and stuff, and he says to me, he goes, "Hey, isn't that Jamie St. James standing over there at the bar?" And I looked over, and there's this guy with long blonde curly hair, and I'm just like, yeah, that guy looks really familiar. Sure. And he goes, I'm pretty sure that's him. And I'm just like, why would he be here in Cleveland?
Right.
Just weird, out of the blue. And so I said, well, I'll go over and ask him. And so I walked over and I said, hey, are you Jamie St. James? And he goes, yeah. And I'm just like, what are you doing here in Cleveland? And he goes, I live here now. Just like, why are you here? And so he just started telling me this whole story that he moved to Cleveland and it was away from the LA scene, and he owned a house out in the the eastern suburbs of Cleveland, and
sure,
this whole thing. And so I was doing the Classic Metal show at the time. I was like 3 years in at this time, and I told him, I said, well, I do this radio show, and I blah blah blah. I told him all about it, and I said, hey, if you're in the area, I'd love to have you come down and be a part of the show. And he was just like, yeah, I'd love to do that. Here, give me your number, and the whole thing. And it was real friendly, Sure. And this is when you still had music's bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I was going to do an in-depth interview with Jamie St. James, and I did this whole interview with him that you published in your magazine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to get back into music. He was kind of blown out on the whole music scene, and he was just like, yeah, I kind of had to get out of the LA scene, and this just wasn't my thing. And what he was doing at the time, when he moved to Cleveland, is he wanted to just, be out of the whole music business altogether.
Yeah, he wanted to be a regular guy.
Yeah, and he was building a dog kennel, like
right,
where people board their dogs.
Right.
And that was the business he was going to get into, is that he was going to board dogs.
Okay.
And I was just like, this is fucking ridiculous. This guy, this guy has a career, he's kind of known in a way. I mean, he wasn't a big star or anything, but he had MTV music videos, and
and they toured with Kiss and everything,
he was connected with Kiss. Obviously, Tommy Thayer is now the Kiss guitarist, but
sure,
at the time he was like a tech roadie guy with Kiss, and way back, Do you know how Black and Blue got signed to a record label?
I really don't. I know it has something to do with Gene Simmons, but I don't know.
No, it had nothing to do with Gene
Oh,
Simmons.
no?
It had to do with our good friend Don Dokken.
I did not know that.
Basically, Don had seen Black and Blue performing in Hollywood, and this was actually before Dokken got signed. And Don
Okay.
doing some producing and so on. Don, people don't realize how influential Don was very early in his career.
Right.
But he discovered Great White.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And produced their first record. And he did the same thing with Black and Blue. He found Black and Blue. They were playing the Hollywood scene, and he liked what they did, and he basically brokered their first record deal.
Okay.
And basically he was just like, say, if you get signed before Dokken does, this is fucking bullshit. One of those deals. Because,
Right.
Don had been kicking around LA, Hollywood area since the late 70s.
Sure.
And here comes this upstart Black and Blue from the upper Northwest.
Right.
I believe they were from Portland, Oregon, if I'm not mistaken. And, he basically got them signed before he got Dokken signed.
Now, was this before or after they appeared on the Metal Massacre?
Boy, to be honest with you, I don't know the answer.
Okay.
So anyway, so this Jamie St. James, he just ends up in the Cleveland area for no apparent reason.
Right.
And it's just like, well, why did you end up here? And he was just like, well, I told my realtor, find me somewhere in the country that's reasonable price to live, has somewhat of an economy, blah, blah, blah. And so she found him like a house in, it was, I can't remember where he lived. He lived east of Cleveland. Just kind of
Euclid or somewhere.
Yeah, a little northeast of where you live.
Okay.
And
somewhere.
Yeah, somewhat. Well, a little bit further north than that, maybe Chardon or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was up in that area, and so I made acquaintance with him at the show, and for some reason he just sort of like took interest in what I had to say, and he came down to the classic metal show at WSTB, and he gave me the whole Black and Blue catalog and invited me out to his house. And, I hung out and became very friendly with Jamie St. James.
Sure.
Just a weird coincidental thing.
Right.
That's crazy. And to think this happened 24 years ago.
Another one.
Yeah, there you go. So it's over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But he resided in the Cleveland area for about 3 or 4 years, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I did a classic metal show night out at Billy's Club, the Revolution.
Right.
And I introduced him actually to Billy Morris.
Right. Okay.
We were at what was the show that we were at? I'm trying to think. Billy was at the show. I'm trying to think. It was like at the Akron Civic or something. And Billy's cousin, what's his cousin's name?
Billy's cousin?
Yeah, his cousin is a musician as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Something Morris. His last name is Morris as well. But anyway, regardless of that,
okay.
Billy and his cousin, and Billy had some, musician friends, and Jamie made friends with them. I introduced him to Billy because Billy's band was playing opening for the show. I'm trying to remember what show it was we were at, but regardless of that, I introduced him to Billy, and he put together a lineup, including Billy. And he called it, he was looking to do like a 70s thing, kind of like a, not to indict Jamie with this, but kind of a Gary Glitter, kind of a New York Dolls, kind of like a glam rock thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 70s type of glam rock thing.
Right.
And he called it the Glorious Things, is what he called it
That's right. I forgot all about that.
originally. But then, that didn't kind of catch on. It wasn't a good name. And so he just called it St. James. He just
Right.
put the whole last name thing, kind of like Van Halen or Dokken or Slaughter or whatever. He just kind of went with the last name thing. And he put out a record, and I had him he played a couple of classic metal show nights out with Ron's Crossroads.
Right.
And he did one at, the Revolution. And, he was always very willing to work with me, even though there was no, little to no money involved.
Right.
He came out and played, and he did. And he did make a record and, that kind of a thing. And he kicked around Cleveland for a couple of years, and then he went back to LA, which is, where I believe he's there today, and, put back together an incarnation of Black and Blue. And they put out that record. I think it was like 2007. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he recorded a Black and Blue record with most of the members of Black and Blue. I don't think, obviously,
I don't think Thayer's in it.
Thayer was not part of that. But you and I had a special edition of the Classic Metal Show because Rip magazine,
Lon Friend.
Yeah, Lon. What would you consider?
Founder or owner or lead writer or whatever?
Editor. He was the editor.
Yeah, the editor in chief.
Yeah, editor in chief. Lon Friend came into town, and that was a whole nother story how you and I became, familiar with him.
Sure.
But he was in town, and I picked him up at the airport and brought him out here to the CMS Studio 1, as you see it today. And he came out, and we had Jamie St. James, Tommy Thayer called in.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Thayer called in. Jamie St. James called in. Don Dokken called in. Different people called in during that show, to talk to Lon, and talked about Black and Blue, and talked about their history with, all that stuff. It was actually a pretty cool show. It was just like a one-off. It was just like, well, we got Lon Friend here, and Jamie St. James is calling in, and Tommy Thayer is calling in, and Don Dokken is calling in. It was just kind of a fun thing for a couple of dudes, you and I, who, for all intents and purposes, we're just a couple of dudes just doing something that at the time, and if you think back about this was like 2006, maybe 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet, even though it's something we use every day, was still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
As far as doing like internet broadcast and things like that.
Were we still on Live 365 at that point?
No, I think we had branched off into like
Stickman Radio,
Stickman, or Pure Rock Radio, or something
Wicked Brew.
Well, I don't think it was Wicked Brew, but it was in that time frame, though.
Right.
But we were able to, do a live show and take phone calls and chit chat about all kinds of shit, and having Lon Friend here in my home.
Yeah.
which was pretty cool, because you and I both were fans of Rip magazine.
Absolutely.
And so to pick Lon Friend up at Midway Airport and bring him out here, and then do a show, and then have these guys call in, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. That was when we were adventurous, when we used to still do shit.
we were just figuring it out at that time.
Yeah.
We were just trying to make something happen, because, we're talking 10, 14, 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah. Long time, man.
So, and I've run into Lon 2 or 3 times since then.
Okay.
For some reason, I remember Dokken was playing at the House of Blues, and I know you haven't been to the one in downtown, but it's basically situated right in between the Marina Towers. I'm sure you've seen the Marina Towers. They look
Sure.
like two corn cobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, anyway, the House of Blues are down there, and there's a hotel right next to the House of Blues, and the House of Blues put I believe I don't remember if it was Doc and the band or if Don was playing. I think it was Don was playing the solo show when he was, promoting his solitary release and was opening
Okay.
up for Queensryche.
Okay.
Well, Lon Friend just happened to be in town to see Prince
Okay.
that night, but for some reason Prince canceled. He was playing at the United Center or something like that. And he canceled the show because he was sick or something.
Okay.
So Lon and his entourage came over to the House of Blues because Queensryche was playing over there. I believe it was when Don was opening, just doing an acoustic thing. And Lon came over to the show, and he remembered me, and of course he knew Don, of course.
Right.
It was just sort of like, oh, this is pretty cool. And so after the show was over, Don invited us up to a suite, which was right next to the House of Blues. And Don had to jet out early. I mean, early, like 2:30 in the morning. And, Lon was just like, hey, I'm in town. I'm not doing anything. And Don's like, yeah, if you want my room, go ahead and take it. So he gave Lon his room.
Right.
And Don had to leave because he had to fly out or some shit. But regardless of that, then I ran into Lon again out in LA. I was out in West Hollywood, and I ran into him. I don't remember the circumstances, but I was out there going to a show at the Whiskey or something like that.
Right.
And I just happened to run into Lon, and he was just hanging out or something. And I was just like, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go up here to the Rainbow. I said, I'll buy you dinner. And he was just like, yeah, cool. So he went with me, and I sat at the Rainbow and bought Lon Friend dinner.
Nice.
And we sat there and just shot the shit about all kinds of stuff,
Right.
Yeah. So it was just kind of weird how that stuff happens. You just kind of run into people, and it's like, oh, hey, man, what's up?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it really is bizarre in the world that we live in today, me and you, how these relationships, I mean, none of these things I would have ever thought. I never, even when I was in radio, when I was on commercial radio, I didn't make other than the Pantera Boys and peripherally David Ellefson, I really didn't make a whole lot of friends with any of the band guys.
Well, you had Jeff Tate, right?
I mean, I knew Tate, but I didn't know him in the hey bud, what's up?
Yeah, but I mean, you did get him from the airport.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, I did that. I'm just saying actual relationships with these guys.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, the last, I don't know what happened here when I came back to the show, if the show just, because of time, I'm assuming, we've been around so long that now everybody knows the name.
Yeah, 27 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time. I mean, that's most of these guys' whole careers, or the bulk of their careers, to where now it's like, when these guys hear our names and stuff, they know us, and they're, we have friendship. I mean, both of us have friends, friends that are friends in between touring the world.
Right.
Doing stuff, it's really quite humbling for me that was just a rock kid that all I ever wanted to do was have a microphone in front of me and be friendly with these guys. Here I am doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. But, for me personally to have, to have a couple of these guys come to my home.
Sure.
Which was like, I've had Russ Dorff here, which is weird.
Billy McCarthy.
Yeah. Billy McCarthy's been here. Don Dokken's been here. Obviously Lon Friend has been here. It's like, this is weird. I got these guys in my home.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Yeah, these same guys that you know, when you were younger, you were watching on MTV going, man, I hope I meet that guy someday.
Or picking up their magazine or seeing them in Metal Edge, or, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, and knowing you as meticulous as you are, fucking having Lon Friend while you have the Rip magazines on your little coffee table spread out on the table. I can see you'd be looking at that going, God damn it, how did this fucking happen?
Well, I'll tell you the story. He signed every one of them.
Did he?
He did. I
have every one of them.
I do. I have a stack of Rip magazines, and Lon went through and signed every one of them.
He literally signed like 90 magazines or whatever, or 150 magazines.
He did. He signed. Well, he didn't sign that many, but he signed a stack of Rip magazines.
Wow. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that to me was just like, oh shit, this guy is the guy.
Yeah.
Without this guy, I wouldn't have this stack of magazines.
Exactly.
And he's here, and he's with a Sharpie, and he's sitting there just signing them all. Holy shit, this is Lon Friend signing my magazines. It's just like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy.
Exactly. Are you like me that the personal connection that you have to whatever craft they did makes them more important than the amount of celebrity? What I mean by that is, is Don Dokken more important than James Hetfield to you because you have a connection to that music?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
That's the way I am too. It's like little thing, I still get really excited when I meet people that most people will be like, who the fuck is that? I'll be like, well, wait a minute. This is Bob Clearmountain, of course. He produced the fucking Bon Jovi records or whatever, and I'll be excited as I'll get out, and people be like, Bob Clearmountain, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, of course.
That always makes me excited is, like when I had the chance to interview Max Norman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Max is a name, and I'm sure people, even listeners, were like, wow, that's a pretty cool one. But for me, that was like the ultimate get.
Yeah. Well, for me, standing there with him, making a short little video on my phone, it was just like, here's Max Norman. I'm just standing right here next to him and just shooting the shit with him.
Yeah. And you sent it to me, and I was like a little fucking kid. I was literally like the kid that won the tickets for his favorite band when I was like 13 years old on the radio.
Right.
I was like, holy fuck.
Thanks for checking out this episode of The Classic Metal Show. Get all of our episodes uncensored at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. Join us weekly from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. Eastern at www.cmsradio.net. Participate in the live chat room at www.chatandkill.com. Once again, thank you for checking out The Classic Metal Show with Neeley and Chris. Hail and kill, fuck you, pal, and hand job!